Hi, I'm Mike, Program Director at PWR Steer, and welcome to the PWR Steer video series. In this video, we will show you a basic power steering pump replacement, and the process will be similar for most vehicles.
Replacing the pump in a power steering system can seem like an extremely challenging task at first, but it doesn't have to be. First, locate the belt direction label. You'll want to make a sketch or take a picture of the belt routing to use as a reference when you reinstall the belt. On this vehicle, the belt routing is not necessary. You'll see why in a minute. Right off the bat, you'll notice that the vehicle has the pump down low on the engine. To replace this pump, it will need to come out the bottom of the vehicle. Before we remove the pump, we need to flush the system. This is a good time to remove the power steering reservoir, because it will need to be cleaned before you refill it. In a lot of cases, the reservoir cannot be cleaned correctly. Take a look at these cutaway examples. As you can see, the mesh in most cases cannot be cleaned. Power steering fluid gets contaminated as parts of your system slowly wear out. Things like bearings, the inside of hoses, gaskets, or seals will deposit tiny particles in your fluid. If the reservoir is contaminated, it will contaminate the system and shorten the life of the new pump. In most cases, PWR pumps come with a new reservoir right in the box. We'll do the job right and install the new reservoir. Fill the reservoir with the OEM recommended fluid. Next, we need to flush the system by disabling the engine from starting and disconnecting the return line to the pump. Crank the engine over, pushing the old contaminants out through the return line. Once you see clear power steering fluid flowing, reconnect the hose. The system has now been flushed, and you can see how critical this process is for flushing out the old contaminants. Just so you understand, there is a high pressure line and a low pressure line in the power steering system. The power steering pump sends the fluid to the power steering rack through one hose, a high pressure hose, and it returns to the power steering fluid reservoir through a second hose, a low pressure hose. The hose that sends the fluid back to the reservoir and pump is called the power steering return line. Some power steering systems incorporate a fluid cooler, which is located on the low pressure side of the system. If a cooler is included, the return line runs from the steering gear to the cooler and from the cooler to the reservoir. Remember that the power steering system is a closed loop system, and if the system is open in any way, air will get in. So whether you replace a hose, a pump, a rack and pinion unit, or a gearbox, there's going to be air entering the system. The idea is to get the air out as quickly as we can to prevent it from damaging the replacement part upon startup. Now that the system is flushed, we can remove the pump. First thing we want to do is remove the tension on the belt by loosening the adjustment bolts. Check it visually for cracks or other damage. In most cases, you will want to replace the belt. Now we can remove the belt. Remove the pump. Sometimes that will mean removing the bolts going to the bracket behind the pulley that hold the pump in place. In those cases, there will usually be holes in the pulley to access the bolts. At this point, you'll want to compare the old pump with the new PWR replacement pump to be sure that you have the right part. Do that by looking at the ports, making sure they are the same. If you're replacing the pulley, compare the diameter and count the grooves to make sure they match the old pulley. In most cases, PWR pumps come with a new pulley already installed on the pump. Transfer any mounting brackets and ports from the old pump to the new pump. As you can see, we'll transfer the brackets and the low pressure port because it's indexed differently from the one we took off. Now you're ready to install the pump and hoses in the reverse order they came off. Now fill the reservoir with the proper fluid and bleed the system. It's always a good idea to check the owner's manual for the fluid specification. Now, before starting the engine, turn the wheel lock to lock 10 times. Refill the reservoir if needed. Then start the engine and turn the wheels again, lock to lock, 10 times, checking the reservoir one last time and checking the system for leaks. Now vacuum bleed the system, and if everything looks good, the job is done. For more information on vacuum bleeding, check out our other videos. Let's do a quick recap. Check belts for cracks or oil contamination. Check hoses for leaks or wear, and consider replacing them if they are 5 years old or older. Inspect the power steering system and suspension. Compare the new product to the old product. Always install a new remote reservoir if applicable. Every part should be installed to factory torque specs. Flush the system with recommended fluid type. Vacuum bleed the system every time a line is open. When ordering a PWR part, here is a guide for when a pulley and/or the reservoir is included with the pump. The suffix will always determine what's in the box. P means the pulley is included. R means the reservoir is included. PR means the pulley and reservoir are included.
Thanks for watching our PWR Steer video series, and please check out our other videos. And remember, our products are 100% new, 100% tested, engineered in Memphis, Tennessee.